Have you seen other performers put all their eggs in one basket, and how is that different for you to know that, you know what, I have my own show to fall back on? It doesn't matter if someone didn't pick me. I pick me for my show, and I pick my guests. How does that work out for you?
Yeah, I just, God bless them. It seems when people put their eggs in one basket, it often leads to very quick, big success and monetary success. People that come up with catchphrases that they push incessantly as the punchline of most of their jokes, or, do something like that. That I don't love. I've never done that myself. I jokingly will say, like, I should come up with a catchphrase so I could become really successful. But when you put all your eggs in the basket of one show or something, that's fine. I mean, you should always have other projects, I think, going that you're passionate about, because it shouldn't be about success. So if you have other things that you're passionate about, one more project in your back burner or in your pocket, or you're slowly tinkering with as you do your other thing, then that's probably enough for you. I don't think you should ever take any one show that you have as the be-all and end-all of your career, because shows end, as do relationships, as do friendships, as do, they don't always end, but generally they do. I meant that just really for friendships and relationships. Shows do always end at some point.
Relationships end too, yeah.
Except Meet the Press. Relationships do end at some point. If somebody dies at the worst, at the longest case.
Sure.
Or earlier.
Well, but then how did you start the podcast? Like, what was...
I've been wanting to do a podcast for a long time. I actually did a podcast years before anybody was really doing them, and I never released it stupidly, and I lost the files, and had all these cool podcasts with great comedians that are now really well known that were in my car. It was called Gleib Drives With, and I was with these different comedians on the way from LA to Irvine. And I lost them all. I have like one or two left. I released one on my Smodcast recently with Greg Proops, but then everybody started doing podcasts. I wanted to do one, and then I just randomly ended up being like the guest host or co-panelist on this pilot with Kevin Smith, and he and I ended up talking after the show. We got stoned after the show, and he wanted to hear my life story, and I told it to him. And at the end of that conversation, we were missing the whole rap party while we were talking for an hour, and at the end of the conversation, he said to me, so what you're a production guy, you're the guy that makes your own things. What are you doing being here on a guest on my show or on Chelsea's panel? Why don't you go and do your own stuff again? And it really inspired me when he said that. And I'd already been thinking that along those lines, but I didn't have the kick in the ass to really start doing it. And then Kevin just gave me that kick in the ass. He then said to me, you got to come on my podcast, be a guest. I went to his house, and he says to me during the first commercial break, do you want to guest host my podcast here in my house this Friday when I'm out of town? And I said, of course I do. And then at the end of the podcast, he said to me, do you want your own show on my network? And I said, yes, I do, but I'm torn between these different podcast ideas I have. I have a format for this interview one, I have this title, I have that one, I have one where I cover all the week's news, and it's called Last Week on Earth. And he goes, that name is brilliant. I never heard such a good name. It's a unique podcast. We don't have anything like it. That's the one you should do first. And he just was so decisive. And I'm like, yeah, you don't say no to Kevin Smith telling you you should do a show on his network and thinks your title's brilliant. So I started doing it. And as the advice I got years ago from one of my first managers, Howard Lapidus, he said, you'll remember this advice one day, and I did, because he said that, and it set my brain to remember it probably, but he said forward motion begets forward motion, and it really does. Just do anything. If you do anything that is something you're interested in, something that feels productive or creative, it will lead to your next thing, either by learning what you don't want to do, but more so it just puts out in the universe this energy it's an engine you can't stop. It just literally like propels, it's like a steamship engine that just, slowly starts to go, and as it starts to get more water under it, if this how steam engines work, I really am making that up. I don't know if they do progressively get faster. I would assume it seems like gaining steam is a phrase we've all heard. Sure. And then hopefully the steam propeller does not end up running over the front-facing whale tail that somehow progresses it under the ship.
Forgot about the whale. It's still in the water.
You can't forget about the whale.
Right.
The whale's always under the water. You can't walk. So you got to remember that.
Well,
Whales don't walk. That's the whole point I'm trying to make.
All right. But Splash, she walked. She was a mermaid.
She was a mermaid.
Right.
That's half person, half whale. I didn't know we were talking about half people, half whales. If that was the case, then yes, the whale could walk. So away from steamships, because it's probably very dangerous with that motion gaining.
Sure.
What is it called? Propeller?
I think the propeller.
But it's a wheel also. It's a wheel.
Maybe. I don't know how the new boats are, but yeah. I wonder if the Love Boat had that.
When they did, it probably felt very exciting and new to them.
Probably, yeah.
You know what I mean?
So you've never had sort of a sit on the couch moment, depressed, my life is going nowhere. It sounds like you're just always doing something. Or
No,
it lasted like a nanosecond.
Yeah, I've had those moments, but you end up, either having a drink or a smoke that night and decompressing, or go and hang out with a friend, or have a minorly self-destructive night to get it out of your system, or write something. The self-destructive ones never seem to help you feel great the next day. You feel generally worse or tired, but every time I've felt like worthless, I felt like, oh, I'm just a piece of shit that doesn't do anything, doesn't get anything done. The cure for it every time was when I finally got off my ass and went to a workout room and tried some new jokes in a small stand-up room or a big room, and just anytime you try some new jokes and one of them works, every time the weight would just be lifted off my shoulders and I'd be like, oh, right, the answer is just to work. The answer is always just to work. I mean, it sounds so stupid because it's a corporate slogan, but the most succinct, best slogan for success in life, I think, is just do it. Nike really stole that for a shoe, and it's unfair because it's a great slogan, and now you say it and you sound like an asshole, but it's a good advice. Mm-hmm. It has nothing to do with shoes.
Right.
What does that have to do with shoes?
Any other follow-up corporate slogan?
No, it's just do it. It's a great one.
You've got mail? No.
It's not really a good life slogan.
No,
we do always have mail, but that's
just...
just...
it was so slow, yeah.
Yeah. But just do it. I mean, it's nothing to... The point is it's nothing to do with shoes.
Sure.
Just do what? The shoe? Is it telling you to have sex with your shoe? Like, what does it mean? Out of the context of do something in your life. Just do it. And then shoes. They're unrelated. And they co-opted brilliance and took it to sell shit. And that's a lot of times what's wrong with the country. You got brilliant moments, and then what we do with that is we turn it into selling your shit. Why can't a brilliant moment just sit alone? Billy Joel said it, leave a tender moment alone. Why not let a brilliant moment linger for a second? It's always got to have a slogan. Always these brilliantly inspiring commercials, the human condition, and then selling you eggs or some shit. It's like, it's got nothing to do with eggs. You're not selling human eggs. If you are, I mean, that would be an interesting commercial. That would be an apropos mixture of slogan and content, but that's rare. Never fits. Stayed at a Holiday Inn Express recently because I'm balling in my life, and their slogan was "Stay inspired." It's also good advice. Stay inspired is very good advice, but no one's inspired staying at a Holiday Inn Express. It's one of the low moments. It's one of the least inspiring moments in their lives. Your slogan can't outshoot your product by a mile. That's just people aren't going to buy it. I mean, maybe idiots are going to be like, oh yeah, I'm inspired here. Most people are going to be like, oh, I just remembered how uninspired I am staying here. Their slogan should have been like, we're a hotel. You can sleep here.
Right. Got clean sheets. No bed bugs.
Maybe cleanish. There will be a Danish and plastic in the morning. That would be a fair slogan. I wouldn't criticize that. I'd be happy with that. I would not stay there. But I wouldn't stay there with a better slogan either.